First of all, thank everyone for being so patient. In the mid-'70s, Cher established herself as a leader in the entertainment industry by first being one half of the duo Sonny and Cher, and then by embarking on her own solo career. And she then continued taking risks by starring in the off-Broadway production of Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean, in a role which she later created in the film version. For that role, she was named as a runner-up in the LA Film Critics Award as Best Supporting Actress and is currently nominated as Best Supporting Actress for the Golden Globe Awards. She continues her film laudits with a role with Meryl Streep in the film about Karen Silkwood, and she has now added another hyphen to her superstardom as an accomplished and successful stage and screen actress. Please give a warm welcome to Cher.
Thank you. No, that's really enough. Thank you. Hi. I would not like to make a whole bunch of speech up here before we start. I'd like to just answer questions and talk to you guys, and I'm not really sure what you're going to ask or what I'm really doing here. So I really don't have anything to say unless you ask something that you want a particular answer, and then I might have a lot to say. Who knows? I'm not really sure. So I'm ready if you guys are. Yeah? Oh, all right. Yeah, the microphones are right up here if you can't yell it out or if you don't feel like your voice will carry. And what are you guys filming for? Okay. Well, you might not be able to use all of the answers. All right, so if you have any kind of question, either come up or yell it out where you are. Hi. I have a good question for you. I'll be the judge of that.
Well, you started out your career as a recording artist, as we all know, I think.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any plans on doing any more recordings?
Well, I started out my career actually as a background singer for the Ronettes. No, right now, I don't have any plans for doing a recording, and that doesn't mean that I won't do it. But at the moment, right now, I'm without a company, and I feel that being without a company and having more interest in films now, which is really a bizarre kind of turn of events, it's better for me to go at this particular moment where I can work, seems to be in film, which I hope will be in film. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to record. I'm hoping that I could do something musical on Broadway, which would have an album, just, a cast album or something like that. Well, Black Rose was a really strange thing. I had a really good time. I did a group called Black Rose, and I really enjoyed doing it. Probably one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in my career, and it was a gigantic flop. I mean, it was just, nobody was interested. We opened for Hall & Oates for about 3 months, had a great time, spent a lot of money, and it was just a total bomb. So I probably won't be doing that again. Anyone else? Hi.
Hi. Do you still perform your night go back to Las Vegas? And if so, does that change the
I'm not. I have. The last time I did Las Vegas was in August, right before I went to Texas to do Silkwood, and I would really like to only have to do that to make money so I could do films, or make money so I could pay my rent, or whatever it is that you make money to do, your own particular thing. Las Vegas is not one of my favorite things in the world to do, only because it's kind of like the elephant's graveyard. You go there to work when you really can't work anyplace else, and I've done a lot of that. I've done that for the last 3 years, and I would hope to not have to do that anymore. Okay.
Question?
Hi.
Hi. This is one I think we're all going to ask here, but what's happening lately with Chastity and Elijah Blue? Are they doing all right?
Oh, well, let's see. Well, Chas is in school. Chas is 14 years old, and Elijah is 6, and they're just doing what kids do, Chas is hoping that we'll move back to New York, and Elijah is just terrorizing his school. Just normal kind of kid stuff. Well, I can't talk about it in specifics because Mike doesn't want us to talk about it, but I can talk about it kind of in generalities. You know, I got this job working with Meryl and Mike Nichols. I was doing a play in New York called Come Back to the Five and Dime. And on a Wednesday, Mike Nichols came to see the matinee. And then he came backstage and said, do you remember when you said that you were really a talented actress and I'd be sorry if I didn't hire you, which I wanted to be hired for a movie called The Fortune, and he just didn't think I was right. And he said, well, you're really talented, and would you do a film with me if you didn't see the script? It's with Meryl Streep. And I said, yes, I would. For nothing. And so I did, and it was really amazing. It was, Meryl is amazing to work with, you know, and it was strange for her, too, because it was really the first time she's done a film with another woman that she has a lot of scenes with, and that was interesting for her. And I don't know. It's really hard to say. I used to be a lot more critical of people in all the professions before I got into them, and then after I got into them, I was a little less critical. And it's hard to say if you're doing something really good. When I was doing Jimmy Dean, I had a lot of flack from my managers and from my agency about doing it because they thought that it was real stupid to do this play because it hadn't been a success on Broadway, and so to do it as a film, they thought was really going to be a bad thing for me to do since I'd just gotten this other movie. It's hard to say if something is good. I think Silkwood is really, really great, and I won't be able to know until it comes out, but I think I really enjoyed working. Mike Nichols is amazing as a director and as a human being. He gives you a lot of freedom, and you can, whatever you've got to give, you can give it, you know. It depends. But it was really an amazing experience, and I think that the story is certainly worthwhile, and Meryl does a great job. So I think it's going to be really not only a good experience, but something that turns out to be something really important. Hi.
I would just like to congratulate you on your work in Jimmy Dean. I really enjoyed it, and I would just like to know why there's been so little publicity on the movie, because everyone I know that's seen it's loved it, but anybody else hasn't even heard of it.
Well, when we did Jimmy Dean, it came out, it's playing at the Beverly Cineplex. Anyway, but it was, I think it's playing at the Beverly Cineplex because when it came out, I don't think people thought that it was going to do whatever it was that it did. And then we had kind of like the onslaught of Christmas where there's no movies for 7 years except, you know, like between August and October, August and November. I mean, all I could find to see was Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, An Officer and a Gentleman. You know, and then as soon as Christmas comes, they release 45 movies. Well, the problem was that we couldn't get a house, you know, and they weren't sure the reaction that it was going to get. The play, I think, is very much like the movie. People saw the play and they really enjoyed it, but there wasn't much said about it. The movie, I think most people who see it really enjoy it. I think you either hate it or love it. I don't know. It's one of those kind of middle-of-the-road films. And I think that if we can just hold out, we might be able to get a better house so that we can do a little bit more, you know? But I don't know. I'm guessing. This is what I get from, like, the inside scoop and probably what no one would tell you. So that's my answer. Yeah. Absolutely not. No, I don't want to be responsible for anything, you know. I'm not. I'm as eager to follow something that looks interesting as the next person, and I think that in the past, you know, when Cindy and I came out, there weren't a lot of girls walking around in bell-bottom pants, and I think that it just kind of happens, but I don't know that you go, I mean, I don't think that I get up every morning saying, now, how many people am I going to influence today by wearing this outfit? But I mean, like if I see somebody walking down the street, we're influenced by everything, so I don't believe that I am, but I don't really mind it if people like the way I'm dressed and go out and put something together that's kind of their impression of it. Yeah.
From that answer, did you enjoy when you had your TV show wearing the Mackie fashion, since that seemed to take precedence even in the skits and even in your music?
Yes. I can't tell you the amount of people, of course, it made me feel wonderful, that said they only watched the show to see what I was wearing. and yes, I mean, it's really, I kind of was, I feel that I wasn't really hip enough not to want to have the American dream, and so I was really happy to wear all the beads and stuff like that, and which it still makes me really happy, because I know that Bob puts a lot into his designs, and they're really beautiful, and I think you'd have to be a lot more secure in your personality or yourself not to really feel extra special good in his clothes. And I really had a good time, wearing it and all that. The unfortunate part is that sometimes people think that you're just a hanger, and I didn't like being just a hanger. I liked being thought of as something more than that. But I can't imagine that I would ever get tired of wearing Bob's clothes as long as I didn't have to, If I went to the market, a lady came up to me and she said, "Why aren't you wearing a dress?" And I thought, well, great. Sometimes people get so stuck in something that you're putting out that they just can't see you as a person or anything else, That was like the drag about doing Las Vegas. It's not really that terrible to do Las Vegas. It's terrible when you think that's the only thing you can do, that you can't do anything else, Okay. There was somebody next to you, the yellow guy, yeah.
I was wondering if, don't get me wrong,
Do you take acting? I mean, you did so many things before you got up and asked the question. Okay.
don't get me wrong, but
Okay.
there are certain stereotypes when one sees someone on the screen on TV for quite a while, such as like Maxwell Smart. He can get a job for 11 years, and it's no way because of this thing. So I was wondering, in doing movies, do producers sometimes wonder if you'll be able to break that Cher stereotype in terms of the audience?
Yeah, that was a really big problem for me. That's why he asked, did you guys hear what he asked? I'm just kind of taking it for granted that you hear. He was asking if I was so stereotyped as being Cher if people didn't want to give me a job as being an actress. And that happened for so long, it really, I was offered things that, a couple of movies, one that I really wanted badly, and then Barbra Streisand decided that she wanted it, so there was kind of no contest, which was called A Star is Born. And then I was offered something that I really didn't want, which was called King Kong. And then I was offered something else. It was like, I don't know, The Fish That Saved Cleveland, I think was what they ended up with. But after that, I really was offered nothing. And I went around to all the studios saying, hi guys, what do you think? And everyone kind of thought that I should have done what was it, Luciano? Yes, Giorgio. Taken a lot of success and a lot of fame at the time and capitalized on it, and that I'd really waited too long, that it was like on the downside of whatever Cher was, And Bob Altman was the only one that kind of was willing to take a chance or say, I don't. Well, see, Bob Altman doesn't care so much what people say one way or another, and he just said, I really think that you could do this, and do you want to do it? And I said, yes, I would love to do it. I would, When Bob Altman called me, I was doing an audition for Joe Papp in New York, because Joe Papp said something to the effect of, how could I tell if you're talented from all that crap you did on television? Do something for me. So I went to New York to study with Lee Strasberg and also to do something for Joe Papp. So Bob Altman just called me while I was there, and he said, come and read this script. He wanted me, for the benefit of you who have seen the film, he wanted me to play Joanne, which I really didn't want to do. And I wanted to play Sissy. And finally we came down to letting me play Sissy, which I really felt I could do a better job in. But I think that if it hadn't been Bob, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I don't think I would be working right now, because there were two other people, Francis Coppola and I are friends, and he said, you should be doing something. You should be working, and yet he couldn't. He was, having his own troubles, and a guy named Tom Mount at Universal, but he didn't have the power at that time to get anybody interested. So I think if it hadn't been for Bob, I really don't know what I would be doing right now. I don't think I would be having 2 movies and a play this year if it hadn't been for him.
And B,
Yes. You didn't say A.
a more esoteric question.
Jeffrey Porcaro, yes, he's now in Toto. All those guys, our rhythm section was Toto, is Toto today.
And I was wondering who you're using now on drums when you say did Black Rose and when you go to Vegas.
When I did Black Rose, I used a guy that you wouldn't know just because he's not famous or anything like that. And when we went to Vegas, who did I use? I can't remember. Deb? Oh, Artie. Yes, Artie Baby. Who's Art played with? Right, Art did Boss Skaggs too, but played on that Boss Skaggs album. Yeah, Artie Wood. Yeah.
Have you ever felt that your fame robbed you of certain experiences? For instance, do you ever wish you could go to college, but you're too famous, or anything like that?
No, I was thinking when we came up here how neat it would be to go to college if it wasn't important to get good grades. I would really like that. No, I like learning. I just think that grades are so detrimental to learning stuff, and I don't know what it's robbed me of. I don't really think it has because I do everything that I want. I mean, you must have read. Yeah.
Is it true that you live like a grand old movie star in your house?
Yes, it is. Oh.
Is your bedroom really like a snake pit?
Is my bed a snake pit? Oh, only on occasion. No, my bed is not done in snakes. Well, it's not all done in snakes. It's very hard to do a bedroom in snakes. I have, yes. Somebody, who was that guy, that critic the other day said, "Do you know what liking snakes mean?" I said, "Yes, I know." No, yes, my house is wonderful. I'm selling it. If you guys have anyone that has a lot of money that wants to buy my house, I want to move back to New York. And yes, it's not a snake boutique, but I just I like the way snakes look. I like statues, and I have all kinds of things in my house. It's really interesting, and I don't live so much like an old movie star yet, but I don't know. I wasn't around in the old days. No, yes, I know what you're saying. I tried that. I mean, I've been giving that a good shot to live like an old movie star, but it's not working out, so I think I'm just going to give it up. All right. Yeah. Wait, in the way back.
Yeah, I remember seeing a picture or pictures of your house when you were married to Sonny on the hill. It's like a very traditional interior, very against your image.
Well, no, it's strange. When you grow up poor and then you become rich, you don't want people to think that you haven't been rich all the time. It's called, you've heard it, nouveau riche. And so we were very much into that. And Sonny is very more, I guess, traditional. He's changed a lot, but he was very traditional. And so that house kind of mainly reflected Sonny. And that was the house we got divorced in. That's one of the reasons. Well, no, I mean, not no. I'm pretty influenced by Chastity. She doesn't say much. My children are very strange. Elijah is kind of like the rowdy, body, bizarre side of me, and Chastity's kind of like the more together, whatever side of me. And she's very mature, and so she really loved it in New York, and I also really loved it. I think because I was a lot happier, and my children were a lot happier, and also she's 14 years old, and you can be very autonomous in New York at 14, and you can't be basically in Los Angeles if you don't have a car. It's kind of difficult to, get around. And I also think for me and for my particular children, New York is a better place because there's a lot more happening. It forces you out. It forces you to do a lot. I feel a lot more alive. I'm very much more reclusive in Los Angeles than I am in New York. So yes, and I do listen to her a lot. She doesn't say a lot, but when she does, it's usually worthwhile. Well, I don't know. Well, I was doing a film at the time, and I got pregnant while I was doing the film, and she's Chastity is a perfect name for her. It works, And
First of all, I thought you did an incredible job in Come Back to the Five and Dime. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And you said that you chose the part of Sissy in particular. Was there something in that character, beyond it just being a good role, that you liked? Was there something you saw in Sissy that maybe you liked about it or you could relate to?
When Bob gave me the script, I said, what part should I read? And he said, I just want you to read the script and say, tell me what you like, or tell me if you like the script at all. When I read Sissy, I thought Sissy was the best character, and so selfishly I picked what I thought was the best character. And I don't know, when I got into it, I found a lot of things in my life and in my experience that helped me do what I thought the job was. I mean, I could find a lot of things in there to relate to. And I was afraid to do Joanne because I was afraid that even if I was good in Joanne, people would say, well, look what she's playing. It's obvious, it's bizarre, whatever. So I felt that Sissy would be something that I could do that was closest to what I thought I could do at the time. There was, yes, and then there was you.
Had you had stage experience before Jimmy Dean? And if not, what sort of ordeals and stuff did you have to go through to get ready for it? How long did you
I have had stage experience just because of being on the stage. I was never in a play in school or anything like that, but I felt so at home on the stage. I mean, it was really an amazing thing. I think that it's like, I never watched dailies of Jimmy Dean, and I didn't watch dailies of Silkwood until Meryl finally took me by the hand and said, "You're coming." Because one time I turned on the Cher show, and I saw in my eyes this real bullshit kind of not wanting to be there, not believing what I was doing, and I felt that if I saw it in my eyes on the screen that I'd have to give it up, because that's what I did. I just left the show. So if you give up, I mean, if you just will take the chance of making a total fool or giving everything you have to give, there's some kind of like tranquility or a feeling of ease that you get by being on stage. And when I went to the stage, I just felt real comfortable, and I felt that I really belonged there, I felt like it was all right. And I think that's what you have to kind of get. And I guess you can get it by going to school and learning it. It's just a different process. I just had to get it right away. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go through any kind of a process. I just had to have it. So I used my other stage experience to feel comfortable just up here a little bit elevated, having people down there, not paying any attention to the people really, and feeling at ease. And I did. A couple of nights I had a really hard time. The night that the critics came, I was so nervous. It was terrible. It was all of a sudden I hadn't thought about going to Broadway or making a change, and all of a sudden everything came in on me that night. And I was a mess, and I could not find anything anywhere. My pits were going. I was like, I went off during the intermission. I said to Sandy, I'm going to have to leave the stage. I can't do this. I can't act. I mean, everything that you go through. And then all of a sudden, I remembered something that Lee had told me, and he said, when you get out of it, when you get out of your character, just get back, think about what you're doing. And if you think about what you're doing long enough, all of a sudden you'll be in it again, like instead of thinking about what you're doing what you're doing. And that happened to me a couple of times, but mostly if I kept my concentration, I was fine. You.
Okay, it's got to be difficult in a situation where you're working, being a single parent with a blossoming film career. Do you get to spend much time with your children, and do they get to spend time with you? They can go to
We've always spent a lot of time together, and when I was doing Silkwood was the longest time we weren't together. They came on the weekends. I tried to go home, but we were shooting a 6-day schedule, so if I had like 3 days off, I'd come home. Being a single parent is difficult, and you never feel like you're giving your kids enough. I give them what I have. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes I try and overcompensate. Sonny's pretty good with chess. He's busy too, and Elijah's father doesn't ever call and also never comes to see him. So that's kind of a bitch. But I think that basically, I think that I'm giving them everything that I can possibly give them, and also still do what I want to do, because I can't give up my life and just stay home and bake cookies. I don't want to do that. I mean, like, we do things together, and I think I do a pretty good job given my circumstance. I'm with them a lot, I'm with them all the time. We go on trips together and we do things together. It's not the best. If I had a husband, it would be better. But I don't know if a husband's worth it. Yeah. Oh, no, I can't. She said, could I give you some insight on my outlook? The only thing that I think about, I think constantly. I drive myself crazy trying to think about what is it that I actually think, and it gets real confusing. I think that you should do what it is that you want to do always, Like, I gave up. I wanted to be an actress. When I was 16, I met Sonny and I was studying with a man named Jeff Corey, and I gave it up. And then I became famous anyway, and not doing what I'd wanted to do, but doing something. And becoming famous is sometimes so sugar-coated, and it feels so wonderful that you give up what it was that you really wanted to do in the beginning. Like if you have a dream and then you get married or you have children, you give up so much. And I think that that's what makes people really despair in their 30s or in their 40s, that they had so many dreams and they had so many, like neat hot nights driving in the Chevy with the top down in the summer that you can never come back because they didn't keep trying to realize their dreams. And I think that it's not important what anybody thinks about what you're doing. I don't think that you should care a whole lot about what people think of what you're doing. You can't please everybody, When I left Sonny said, America's going to hate you. And I thought, Jesus, what a heavy thing, my God. I didn't even think about working. I just thought about America hating me. It's like, so, and then I thought, well, fuck America. What am I supposed to do? Live in a life that I absolutely hate? I was so miserable. It was just terrible. And everyone was saying, God, you're so lucky. You have this and you have that. And isn't life wonderful? And I was going home, not being able to sleep, weighing like 98 pounds. And it was miserable, my life. And one guy, though, did hate me. I went to an S class, and this guy got up in the middle of S class, and he said, when I was young, I had 2 tapes. I knew that I was dead then. I had 2 tapes, Herb Alpert and Sonny and Cher. And my wife left me when Cher left Sonny, and all I want to know is, what is she doing here? I got up and went to the bathroom at that point. But, there's so many things. We are so conditioned to live kind of like a McDonald's existence, and you just have to fight it constantly because it's so full of shit. But it takes you so long to realize just how stupid it is. All the things, the basic things, like when you're young, you're taught to not tell lies and be nice, and then you grow up looking for all the people that are going to not tell lies and be nice, and they went someplace else. They're somewhere else. So I don't know. You just have to kind of reevaluating yourself, and that's kind of my basic theory about it. Life, that is. I'm 36. Don't I look wonderful? Yeah, way at the back. Do I have any desire to direct? Well, I would like to if I thought that I was talented enough to, and I'm not really sure, so I can't really. I have the desire, but I don't know that I could do it. I edited a show once that I did. I did a special. You might have seen it, I don't know. I played all the parts in West Side Story, and I edited that show. And I loved it. It was the most gratifying experience before Jimmy Dean that I'd ever had, because I really didn't like doing television that much. I didn't feel like I was very good, It's really strange. The first time I felt that I was good was on Broadway, and that's kind of a bizarre thing that I could have dealt with the feeling that I was bad all these years, but I did. But I would like to direct if I thought I was good, but right now I just like to be able to act. Now I'd like to try and do that for a while. Yeah. It hurts. She asked if it hurts to try and build up these defenses, and or to be hurt by stuff that people write about you. It does. I mean, you know, of course it does, because you'd much rather have people like you than dislike you or say really terrible things about you. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, they're selling newspapers. They don't care about you, and they don't care about the people that are reading the newspapers. I mean, it's trash that really is going to blow your mind out if you really believe it. But you have to get thick-skinned. You know, it's like when I went to Mike Nichols and I really wanted this part in The Fortune, he said, you know, you're just absolutely wrong for it. You have to kind of build up a skin, because you're not selling a product that you can kind of divorce yourself from. You're selling you, and when people don't want you, it means that they just don't want you. They are not buying you. So you have to kind of forget it. I mean, people say terrible things about you. You know, they want you, first they build you way up like Farrah Fawcett, and then cannot wait, you know, to just kind of whack you down and say, you know, you weren't so great after all. You just have to kind of keep remembering that that's not what you're here for, to get the cover of People magazine. You're here to try and put out work. Yes?
Did you enjoy working with Robert Altman? I mean, he's known for letting actors improvise and being real sort of modern about it.
He was wonderful.
A lot of actors have trouble with that. I mean, I remember reading that Lauren Bacall couldn't act under him in that movie for Help.
Yeah.
And I wondered how you liked it.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was wonderful. As a matter of fact, I thought it was so wonderful to improvise that the writer wanted me fired when I first took on the role, you know, in the play. And Bob said, you just can't do, he said, I'm used to being able to do exactly what I want, but he said, you can't do this on Broadway. So kind of like hide it from him and then kind of, you know, bring it out later. To work with him was the most wonderful thing, because he would say stuff like, I don't know if this is going to work, but try this. And if you were really had a strong feeling about something, he would let you do it once the way you wanted to do it, as long as you did it with the equal enthusiasm the way he felt that it should be done. But he gives you this kind of, it's kind of like the Dumbo syndrome. You know, he gives you this red feather and says you could do anything you want to, and you believe, therefore, that you can do anything. And I liked working with him. I think I liked working with him more on the play because he said a lot more things to me. I was real nervous working with him in the movie because he didn't say a lot to me. He just kind of let me do it. So I just did what I did in the play, basically, and added a little bit more. I think he's wonderful. I think he's so wonderful that, you know, he said, it's hard to be a director in this country and not take chances and not care so much if people accept it, as long as you keep putting out work that you think is really good. And sometimes you don't do a good job. Sometimes you do something that you're not proud of, but he's got a lot of guts, and I really respect him for that. You know, I really think he's amazing. Yeah. He was considering a friend of Kathy Bates, the girl that played Stella May, who was working down in Nashville, and I don't really remember her name, but he thought she was wonderful. Yeah. Sure, I think show business is a wonderful profession. Yeah. I don't know how he's doing today. You know, and he was doing drugs a long time before I met him, so I don't know if me breaking up with him had anything to do. Sometimes I don't even know if he remembers that we were together, so I don't think it had a lot to do with when we broke up. Yeah. Well, I think that if you are a woman in the entertainment business, I think that if you're like, you know, if you say what you want and you stand pretty strong for something that you want, you're a bitch, and if you don't, they walk all over you. So I think that there's some kind of like, you have to kind of go for what you really want, and I don't know. I think it's getting better. I'm sure that it was impossible. I think being an actress is a lot easier than like being a technician. We worked with the one female cameraman in New York, and she was really good, and it took her a long time and a really lot of ass busting to get, you know, to be that one cameraman. But I still noticed that the guys treated her a lot different than they treated like our other cameraman that we used in in Texas, our male cameraman. I think it's difficult, but I don't think it's impossible. And there's a lot of things that are real difficult. You know, just being an entertainer is difficult, you know, no matter what you are.
What's your favorite nightclub?
You mean like in the United States? You can't get to New York that fast. I don't know. What about, let me tell you something. I am so out of it. I don't know any place, but some friends of mine go to a place called Club Lingerie to dance, and that's about, I mean, I could tell you offhand. I have dancer friends that go there. I don't know anything here. That's a wrong question to ask me. Yeah. The film was a lot more difficult because I just didn't feel like I knew what I was doing in the film. I was so insecure, and I didn't, I wanted, actually, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the film. I was nervous to do the film, and I didn't feel like I was doing a good job some days. It was really, the play, you know, there's a logical continuity. You walk in, you get the emotion, you're working, someone says something. I have like a tough scene, and we broke right in the first two lines of that scene at 5:30, and we picked up the next two lines at 6 o'clock the next morning. And I thought, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do to get up that intensity and all that. So my friends in Toto had a new album that was out, and there was a second song on it that had a particular effect on me. And I put it in my headsets, and I just kept playing it over and over between lighting, between takes, you know, and it brought me up to the place that I needed to be. But I felt really like I knew what I was doing on stage, and I felt like I didn't know what I was doing very much in the film, like when we were doing it. But I think I was a little bit nervous about just doing it at all. Yeah. Yes, I am. He had a birthday. He's 23. Yeah.
How do you think, or how do you see your culture and your background, your heritage affected you in your outlook in the way you're living now? It seems you're quite different, and excuse me, the way you said that you grew up poor and now you're trying to show a different image. What actually was that you learned back then, and do you see any relationship, or it's completely different?
No, I think. Are you? All right. Okay. It's strange. It's like I might be able to show you by an example. Meryl couldn't care less what she wears. Doesn't care how she looks. I mean, she looks great, but she doesn't make a big effort to she wears jeans or a sweatshirt or anything. It doesn't make any difference. I always kind of growing up wanting to be more accepted by, I don't know who, but accepted is just wanting to be more accepted and wanting to be someone, because sometimes when you grow up, or when I grew up, I felt really badly because I was poor, and I felt that I just wasn't as good and kept striving to make myself into something. And I don't know that making yourself into something by gathering material stuff it doesn't really help. It's like putting stuff on. It doesn't come from inside, but it really took me a long time because I wasn't really happy a lot of the time in the work that I was doing, and I didn't feel like I had very much credibility. And so now it's a little bit easier. Like when I went to New York, I felt a lot better about my work and about who I was, so I didn't have to make myself into something else. I could basically more relax and be who I was, whoever that is, which I'm not even sure now. I'm going to take a couple more questions because you told me it's almost over. So does anybody have anything? Yeah.
You seem to have enjoyed your stage experiences quite a bit. Are you still basically just interested in doing film acting?
No, I would love to do more stage work. It's really amazing. I mean, when I got the job, I even was nervous about would I be able to do a good job every night, or would I get bored and all that stuff. The strange thing, I heard that, you learn things all the time and all performances are different, and I didn't believe it, but it was actually true. I mean, 2 nights before we closed, I said something, and I said, oh, God, that's what that means. I mean, I never had gotten it, and I was doing, we did it for months and months. But there's something really exciting about stage work, just different, and also an audience is something really special. It's like if you see a great movie, sometimes it's amazing, but sometimes if you see a great play, it somehow stays with you longer or deeper or something, I mean, unless it's Gandhi and you just walk out going, you don't know who you are and what are you doing in here, and how could you possibly go to Jack in the Box after seeing Gandhi? Yeah. I never was part owner of Flippers, but they felt that it would be an interesting idea to use my name. And so no to all the other things afterwards. Yeah. This is the way I feel about that. I feel that every generation deserves to have their own thing. It's none of my business. I feel that I've done about as much with Chastity right now as I can. Chastity has this short hair all over her head, blonde, and but her, I mean, it's happy that I like the way she is. If I didn't like what was inside of her, then it would be really difficult, because I can answer your question kind of, devil may care, because I feel real comfortable with the way she is. She could look any way she wants to. I don't really care how she wants to look. It's what's going through her mind. And since punk is only pretend in America, really, right now, I mean, it's not a real thing. It's the people. When I was in England, I mean, the people didn't have anything to wear, basically. So they thought, if we don't have anything, then let's make not having anything in, and so that we can, so that we could have something for ourselves, so we could have a style. I don't believe that really exists, where Chastity goes to school, in private school. I don't think those kids are hurting for anything. So, so she could be whatever she wants to be. Her life is not my life, I can't tell her what to do. I can try and guide her and give her hints. But like I remember telling my mother said, I wish you could learn from my experiences. And I said, yeah, but I can't. So that's the way I feel about Chas and Elijah. God willing, Elijah will not grow up to be a mass murderer or anything like that. The thing that worries me most about my kids is drugs, because I've seen it do really terrible things. So far, I think Chas is smart enough to know that, it's dopey. Yeah.
I just want to thank you you have a bunch of really nice tent parties over your house office. Cher was a long time ago, 6, 7 years ago.
Yes. All right, you can be the last one.
This may have been asked earlier, but since you just did that funny movie about James Dean, and you're a little bit from that era as I am, do you feel that the James Dean persona had any effect on your choice of men as you grew older, the rebellious, what James Dean represented?
Yes, I always like people that are really bad for me. I've always, I've always been rebellious. I mean, I was like about 14 or 15 before I realized that I wasn't James Dean. I always felt that that's really a good kind of way to be really cool and really hip. And I'm sure that it had a big effect on us. And unfortunately, sometimes personas or made up things have a bigger effect on us than things that are more real and would do us a lot more good. So that's it. Thank you very much.